on our government and our police to protect us. And that is what you said you were doing by keeping us out of the town. But by booting in our doors and taking our things, you made us feel less safe, and in fact, you also made us, in effect, less safe, because now we were vulnerable to looters who did take advantage of the situation for a very long period of time. We were not allowed or able to protect our belongings or our homes with our doors booted in, and we're not allowed to do so for several weeks, and had to sit there completely powerless, waiting for someone to let us back in. Now, I thought I lived in a free country. What this whole flood taught me is that I don't. And I'm very glad that we have some politicians that are willing to look into this, because we have civil liberties in the state here. We are our state. If we don't capture the situation, crystallize it, and make sense of it fast, this can happen again and again and again. I'm sorry, but the next thing you know, we're living in Nazi Germany. I'm going to quote a member who is going to remain nameless, because I know you guys, gossip just as the rest of us do, and I don't want to get this person in trouble, but when I asked him why 2 of my doors were booted in that weren't locked, he gave me a wry little smile and he said, "Les, there's no better feeling than booting in a door."
That's exactly what I stated earlier, right? If people come forward with this, right? Again, we're not about accountability. I'm telling you, it disgusts me if that happened, right? It disgusts me that you perceive it even happened, if it actually happened. But I need those people to come forward, right? And the problem is that we're not perfect. I can tell you that I have seen unlocked doors also get forcibly entered. Prior to this, mistakes happen, we're not perfect. But please bring that forward. I can't encourage it enough. To maybe put some context number-wise, during the searches, those initial days, I'm told that we found 327 people still inside the houses. Some of them continue to remain throughout. 28 of those people required our assistance to leave. They were unable to go on their own and required our assistance. There are 28 people that are potentially alive today because of that action. I can tell you that it turned out. Again, I don't know the circumstances, but that's the number that it's.
I know you want to sweep this under the carpet. You said yourself you don't want to look in that rearview mirror, but what we want is accountability. You can't ride on your dad and your granddad's RCMP coattails. You have to continue that old tradition and not belly crawling like you have in the last little while. That image of the RCMP has done a swan dive, and this did nothing to help. So I live on the east side of Sunshine Lake. I was under 8.5 feet of water. On June 22nd, 2 days afterwards, I went with an RCMP officer, 2 of them actually, and we canoed through my second floor door to retrieve stranded pets. I actually had to use a key. My firearms were still there in my closet. On the initial search, you can't tell me that my firearms were taken because it was after the 22nd. My door was booted in. Why was my door booted in when it was verified by an RCMP officer who was with me? I am coming, I'm telling you now. And this idea about the RCMP officers that had their doors booted in, we have 2 on our street. Every door has been booted in but 2. You want to guess which 2? They're really nice guys. And if I was a Mountie, I would have protected my house too. I mean, if I work at Walmart, I get a Walmart discount. I guess this was a Mountie discount.
Just to answer, it's certainly not that I'm shirking accountability. It's just that it will come from above me, right? And rather than wait and stew, we're going to move forward. We're going to continue to help
Hi, my name is Orville Donsey, and I appreciate that you're willing to talk here tonight because that is pretty good. And going forward, I hope it's a heck of a lot better than right now. As the previous speaker had just said, the image of the RCMP has gone down a long way, not just here, but all over Canada. And this certainly doesn't help. But, you know, a small town, rumors, facts, whatever, we hear everything. And I'll tell you, I've heard a lot about doors and everything, and I've had my own kicked in as well. But, and just to say, as far as I'm concerned, the payment that is going forward, you're on a budget just like anybody else. You put in a bid for this policing all these different places. You should be paying. I know we pay ultimately no matter what. But if you don't, it doesn't come out of your budget, so you can't get any more fancy highway cars or whatever, maybe you'll feel the pain a little wee bit and know that you shouldn't be doing some things like you do, because ultimately your group takes the orders from somebody in your group, you know, not from outside, obviously. Because I've never seen anything quite like this. I just have to mention one thing that this town has heard, and I've heard this from different people, and I know this is a little bit off, but it does come back to the fact that I think you said that our group left, and that's nice to hear, because the people that were here, at least the police that I've talked to, I have no idea where they came from, but they sure not, the ones that I talked to were sure not very professional in their way they handled things. Or me. Just a small example. I'm just trying to see my home, to see just how high the water is from the highway. And of course, the words, move along, and that's okay. I hear them and I moved along. With the 30th time, and I said, well, what are we going to do with my wife? So we went to the east side of the highway and parked in a ditch with my 4x4 and got on the roof with binoculars, completely out of the way. My wife counted 35 police cars going by and never stopped us once. And then just when I got that house in focus, move along. And I said that I just have 2 minutes to see where this is at. Move along. And he was getting aggravated. And I thought, you know, 35 guys, I told him, and I said, but there's always a 36. And he was coming from an area that I was just going to mention about this other rumor, that a bunch of RCMPs, and I'm sorry, I know I'm taking a bit of time, RCMPs more or less commandeered or took over a person's land, cut the wire fences so they could park in their cars and vehicles, chased the horses with their quads. Horse jumps over something, injures the horse, and they're refusing to pay that bill too out here. So that type of attitude plus a high five, I just wanted to really reiterate that it's real and it's alive, you know. But I do appreciate you.
Thank you.
I think the staff sergeant has been very generous with his time this evening. I was going to let him off the hot seat if that's all right with those in the line. Did you have something you need to ask the staff sergeant?
I just want to ask one more. Okay. I don't know whether you know my brother, Dick Wendell. He looked after detachments out of Calgary, Trigger Valley, High River, stationed here 3 times. When I mentioned taking indoors, he was very surprised. He spent 24 years. But somebody had to give the order. What my main concern is, somebody has to pay. And my main question is, who's going to be?
Financially or
Financially. Financially, I paid my way already. I had to put my door in. So.
And I don't have that. You know, I can tell you the attachments budget in itself would be eaten up for the next next 5 or 6 years by this claim. So I don't know where that number's going to settle out at. So I don't know who's
My claim has been in for 3 weeks.
I empathize with you big time. I know for a lot of people, some of the claims have been, several $1,000s, $5,000, $6,000. Some of them have been. It's a huge amount of money. I don't know that I would be wanting or even be able to facilitate that on a credit card or short-term loan. And, those are issues that we'll obviously have to discuss as well. I don't know. I just don't know. Sorry. I can't apologize enough for it. I have those conversations every day. I want you to know that it's part of the billboard. I push it as hard as I can.
Well, my door was kicked in on dry land. I mean, there's no reason for it in the first place. But thanks for your time.
So, just briefly, my story, my mother's story. My mother's an old age pensioner, fixed income, no damage at all to her house, no sewer backup, no flood, other than the back door that was kicked in, glass everywhere, left open for 2 weeks to the open air, and to have her wandered by and wanted in. My mother's paid $1,000 to get the door replaced. When you say if it was that way, it's disgusting. It's not if. When people are kicking in doors that are already open, when there's a single pane window right next to my mother's door that could have been easily broken, reached around and open, this is 13-year-old testosterone high-fiving for sure. There's no doubt about it. My own property, both front and back door damage, whatever, not as bad as my mom's damage, but when it comes to the guns, we just grab stuff lying around, again, is an absolute fiction. We had guns in a safe that my husband brought up. The 2 that didn't work, he left on the stairs, and those were taken. The ones that did work, and I don't know how many we had, we put these, but they were registered at one point, took up to our bedroom, which they then walked up the stairs, muddy carpet a little bit, I'm sure that's a familiar story, in our closet, behind some clothes behind the guitar. Those were not just standing around, and it makes you feel a little uncomfortable. You're wondering, hey Stan, check it out, is what it feels like. So who gave the order, I think, is huge. For my mother, who has a $1,000 bill, that, I mean, maybe I can put it on my credit card for my mother. This is a lot of money. She has been asking and asking and asking, and she's not here this week asking to ask for her. Who is going to give her that money? Because the only damage she had in her property was that damage, and she had a heck of a lot of glass that she had to clean up as well. So, thank you. Thank you.
My concerns with the whole issue that went down here is, I lived in a part of town that was not affected by the flood, over by Max. My door was kicked in to the point where it was laying on the floor. I'm a registered gun owner. I had them locked down, responsible for the gun safe. No guns were taken of mine, but yet my door was kicked in. I know you can turn all utilities off in a house by not going into a house. So the breach into my house was totally unreasonable, unless they were going in looking for guns that I may have had last minute said, yeah, I'm going to throw them on the couch. So to that point, and I also want to know how you guys have restored this image you've given us on how bad we've been treated over here. You made us feel like criminals in our own town that we were forced out of, not let back in. What belongings we still could have sit and mold away just for bureaucracy. I won't say it because you don't want to have it, but you know what I mean? So, and those answers aren't going to get, they're not going to get answered, and I know they're not. And we're, like you said, it's kind of like, I feel like we're in a police state, so the river floods, you guys can go in and do whatever you want. And to me, I thought we lived in a democracy. How come I didn't get a vote on this issue here, or how you guys deal with emergencies? You shouldn't have the right to just waive every freedom we have just because the river floods. We all lived here for, I've lived here for 30 years. So if you made it through the 95 flood. It was pretty bad. So you provisioned yourself to make it through a situation like that. These people weren't allowed to stay. They bought generators, they have food. It's not hard to prepare for a week or a month to live off food and water. Like, come on, I mean, you gotta let people live their lives. We pay for these houses. We need to be there to protect them.
And again, acting under the state and local emergency, right? Although we're the ones in the front, we're not necessarily the ones that make all the decisions. That's all I can really say.
I just want to know why we don't vote on that. And why can't we change it? And that needs to be changed.
It's provincial legislation.
Let's thank Staff Sergeant for taking time this evening. Sounds like he's going to be here a long time, so it's nice to get to know you, sir, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. Now, we're going to keep on going with some questions. I can be